All right, so the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to see how we're going to use Notion to manage our time. We can get more granular than just seeing things by day. So when we look at our start page right now, we have by day of the week, by different weekly, monthly, daily. And then we have by our focus areas, right? The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to consider seeing these items by two different layouts that are based on time. So this one is going to be a linked view of the database. And when I do that, it just makes it identical. For this one, we're going to go ahead and make it into the calendar view. I'm going to remove the source title so that we can easily see the info pops up, and it will default to the icon that was used in the original. So now what we have is a view of our database that is a calendar that we can add directly to. Once we click on plus on any of the dates, we'll be able to add directly to that. When we are doing this, we can add an end date as well, so that anything that is longer than all day, one day, you can have it run across multiple days. And then in the calendar view, once you've labeled something, so we're going to say cleaning the office, this would be under admin, this would be assigned to me, it is $150, and the priority is medium. I'll show you what the end date means in the next one. This is a service, right? All of those things might be helpful to have on our calendar view, so we're going to make it visible. We can change the orders around, right? And then if you want, we can also wrap the content so that anything that would be spilling over would spill over into a second line. So say, for example, this was just one day instead of multiple days. Um, you would clean the office starting with the cafeteria. Just adding more text to it so you can see the wrap, right? So it will start with another line. The length of the card will be based off of how many different properties you have on it. So if we have multiple, and this one is, wait, let's make this a duplicate. These are red right now because I have a conditional format on it, but I'll show you how to configure that after. The duplication just popped up, so it'll only do 2 lines, right? So it gives kind of a sneak preview of the task content. The other things you can do with this is that you can actually see your Notion managed content with your calendar. So if you click on manage in Notion calendar, this will pop up. This allows you to see your weekly schedule along with your information from Notion. So anything that's date bound, say it is a um, deal tracker or in this case, task manager, you'll be able to visualize those tasks alongside your actual schedule using Notion Calendar, fusing the two. Notion Calendar uses Google and Apple at this point email addresses. Soon there will be in the pipeline um, Outlook and others, but at this stage, that is specific to the Google and Apple email addresses. But either way, you can still see things on the calendar. You can also go ahead and choose if you, for example, in this one, you have the end date and the start date. If you want to see it by end date instead of by start date, there were no end dates that were assigned, so it went away. You can only choose by one dimension on this one. And The other thing I want to show you here, let me just pull up my notes, is the conditional formatting. So right now I have it where if the date is this week, it shows up in red. That might be a little redundant on this view. So what we're going to do is say, okay, if it is that the area is admin, so if there's multiple that you can check off. Um, oh, these are office, not admin. Um, you can also just have it match the option. So if this is now going to be training, let's just remove it. Um, admin is a filter. There you go. You'll see the color. Um, so not if it's not empty, this will allow you to see all the different colors, right? And you can use the color coding to make it really easy what's happening. And the next thing I want to show you is the notifications. You might have seen this in another one, but I just wanted to bring it up here again if this is the first introduction. On the date property, you can add notifications to for anything that does not have a time. You can automate on the property itself to the generally, right? 1 day before, 2 days before, but specifically for things that have the time date, the time specified, you can go more granularly 5 minutes before, 30 minutes before, etc. Um, and the next thing, I like to order these based off of what you want to see first. And you can customize these pages as well. I'm going to show you that in another video. But the next thing is going to be, oh, if you open up a view, show, you can, and you saw what it just did there. This is the calendar view, but when I opened it up to show the source database in full page, it went to the top databases tabs and configuration. So what we're going to do is go to the view of tasks. We can relabel a view. So this is going to be called calendar. And now this will be on our side panel. And we can open up as a calendar and see a perpetual view of our calendar. So it would be continuous between months. And if you want to see it via week, just 1 week to just kind of focus, you can do it that way as well. The next thing I want to go over is the timeline. And in this one, you're able to see all of your items instead of only by monthly and weekly. If you want to go down to the hour or to the day, you can into 15-minute integrals and into hourly intervals. And that is super helpful for when you're dealing with an itinerary for a day and you want to manage it. If there is a dependency between items, so say for example, you have a this is a silly one, but you need to have your kickoff meeting before you pay your phone bill for whatever reason. You can connect these two as a dependency by going into the settings and turning dependencies on. By connecting them, if you shift the date when the dates overlap, it will move over in proportion to the time that was originally different. So you can choose whether or not it's going to be shifted only one over or and maintain the time between tasks. You can choose to not automatically shift, even though there's a dependency. Maybe in some situations, one is not a waterfall setup where one would be automatically moving over to the other. The next, using the start date or the end date. So if the start date is showing up as the if the end date is still within the same amount of time, but the start date has changed, you would see differences in that. Another thing you can do is you can pull out the table so that you can see the name of the task or the name of the item. This is in the full page. When you're on the start, you can see the ones under no date, the ones that don't have a date yet. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to see the table. Yeah, it's not here. So yeah, when you open it up, let's go back to our time. This is really about time. Clicked on you. I'm gonna modify this. You can see a traditional Gantt chart. If you have subtasks, you'll be able to see it, and the subtasks will show up underneath here. So if you have um, them outlined, it will automatically populate. So phone bill, log into carrier with company card, right? And that will allow you to kind of have an idea of what connects to what without having to deal with jumping around on the timeline. So time-based items are easier to manage when you are in the full page view, but you can see a consolidated or a simplified visual of it on the linked view inline. And these are all of the different time binds that you can put between them. So you can be as granular or as zoomed out as you want to be in terms of the time frame that you're looking at all of the items. So if you had your, for example, roadmap on Notion, this would allow you to kind of see your 5-year plans down to your monthly plans, etc. And then note that you can show your timeline by one date property that has the end date on it. The implication is that you only, if you only have the date identified with one date, then it's an all day task. But if you want to create one where there's an end date that is after and you see the time band, you can add in the end date and you'll see the larger band. Let's move this back to day. Actually, by month is a standard. And you'll see the band. If you choose to have two separate dates, so by start date and end date, you can toggle on separate dates, select the properties that represent them, and you'll now be able to see that if you choose, if you open this up and then end date is here instead, now it is going from the 29th to the 3rd of July, for example. So that will allow you to shift your properties however you'd like. And like I said, the settings is where you would turn on the dependencies and choose if you're going to use the shift from the end date or the start date. It defaults to the beginning, and there are advanced settings. So if you want to adjust any of these where you're changing the relation property, note that when you turn on dependencies on the table view, you'll be able to more easily see this. But really, you are creating two additional properties. You're creating a blocking and a blocked by. And on the front end, you can identify the dependencies here and then visualize them on the timeline there. Um, if you wanted to highlight in red, maybe we were going to save the red for only things that are being blocked. And so the next conditional color is if blocking is not empty or is not empty, yeah, then turn red. You can see the ones that have a current block. So using the calendar, you can include time, make a schedule, um, and then see things based off of time, right? It will be manual sorting to begin with, but you can sort by start date, and so then you'll be able to see the times in line. This won't be able to move up above it. And so if I move this onto this page, it will shift, because remember it's by start date, so the start date has changed essentially, and end date, and move it back. All right. So now we have a time visualization. Let's make this a different color because yellow is our department tasks. Let's make time be gray. Eh, purple. No, pink. Time is in pink. Yeah. And the Notion calendar, you can also choose the colors for this. So say, for example, you have added the box of blue. You can choose the color that you're going to see your tasks in, different from what you're going to see your email addresses schedule based off of, and you can adjust your statuses in here too, so you can mark things off as done, and then you can go ahead and filter to only allowing you to see the things that are incomplete. So this gives you a daily to-do list. If you are a time blocker, if you move things down from the top and you put it into the kind of hourly section, you'll be automatically updating the time as well, and that is going to immediately update on this end. So you'll see schedule office cleaning, manage in Notion. Status is not complete, and parent item is empty. Is the day different? 2020. Why I not see that? Oh, because the status is done. So there you go. All right. You can move the time around here. It'll automatically pop up on the other end. Boom. And then you save. You can make it so that, similar to what we talked about before, only the things that have been assigned to a person are showing up on this time-based view. And that is how you would do time blocking, or kind of items with dependencies where there is a one item has to go before the other, or perpetual planning where you're going into further months and you need to see everything at once. These are the different specific value adds of using these views. I hope this was helpful.